Great, thanks so much. Well, thanks everybody for attending. Excuse me. Hope everybody is staying safe and healthy. You guys have been kind of at the forefront of a lot that's going on, so hang in there. And today we are looking at the stats. So what you've got on your screen right now is the market infographic, and we have a way of talking about statistics called bite snack meal. And the idea here is that you only want to present your end user with the amount of information that they can easily consume. So the infographic you're looking at here falls into that category of bite because it's just that little bit of information. It's not a whole bunch of charts and graphs being thrown at you. So it's really easy to digest and see, and it's really pretty. We like to call this one also our pretty printable and postable, because it is printable now, and I will get to showing you that in a minute. But let's go over what we're looking at here. So it says it's the April 2020 market stats, and this data is fresh as of last night. I did another bump for you on the data. We do start updating data on the last day of each month, so that that first day of the month you will have the freshest data you can. Obviously, there's a few days fluctuation in there as everybody gets those listings and that information updated, but you do have that availability right away at the beginning of the month. And each of our dashboards, except for one, goes through the last full calendar month. So this one isn't going to give you intra-month statistics, it's just through the end of April. Now at the top here, we've got a couple of filter boxes, and you can tell they're filters because on the side there's a little upside down triangle. Anytime you see that, it means it's a filter that you can click on and interact with. So I can click on this one and select any of the other cities, or I can change the property type over here, and that will change the information that we're looking at. And then you've got a handful of metrics on here. So we have days on market, units sold, median sold price, etc. And each one of these also shows you the comparison from the prior month. So you've got 6%, it was up on days on market last month, and you can see the number of units sold was down about 20%. And if you ever forget what you're comparing that against, down at the bottom in little tiny print, it does say that you're looking at the month-over-month results. And then let's say you want to print and share this. If you want to post it to your social media account, for example, up here in the top, there's a little printer icon. I happen to be using a Chrome browser, so for Chrome, this print icon acts exactly the same as if I chose the Chrome print menu. The other browsers are a little bit different, and we do have some documentation on that if you have trouble with your other browsers. But I'm just going to click right here on the icon, and you can see it's bringing up the print dialog. It's already right there, set up in 8.5 by 11. In case you are printing out physical copies of this, and it's landscape as well. And Chrome is really nice because it's going to force you into that landscape. If for some reason you're using a different browser and it comes up not in landscape and portrait, just mess with your margins a little bit, and that should save for you correctly. And you can either here save it as a PDF, or if you have a physical printer, like I said, that's where you would do that. But I will just cancel this for now. If you do save it, it typically saves to wherever you have set up for your downloads to save for your browser. So however you have that, that will remain the same here. And that is the market infographic. So now I'm going to go to the next level of dashboard. This one is that snack category. So it's obviously at first glance more information than we just looked at, but it's still not the entire full member everything you can do, you want to do, you can do dashboard. We'll get to that in a minute. So this one, the market review, again, look at April. And over here on the right-hand side, you've got those statistics for the month. You have the same 6 as were on the infographic, plus 2 more at the bottom, the % of ask received or negotiating power, and your absorption rate. You still get the comparison to the prior month, which is right here next to it. And all the way over at the left-hand side, you also now get the comparison against the prior year. So you get that full 13-month view of what happened. including the spark line across the middle. Now, I'm just moving my mouse over this, and this is showing you what all of these values are on the spark line when they occurred and what the value was. And you'll also see on each one of these spark lines, there's a horizontal line that goes across the bar. Sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's near the top. What that horizontal line represents is the value of the metric for the month that we're looking at. So this is a really quick way for you to be able to look at this and say, where was the median sold price over the last 13 months compared to exactly where we are today? So you can see that you had a nice little uptick there in April after it's been down for a while. And you don't even have to know what those numbers are. You can just look and see what the trend says really quickly. And again, on the top, you have those same couple of filters. You can change property type right here or the cities. And in this one, you've got all of them selected. The other one defaulted to Lansing, but it's easy to unselect this and select a couple of them or one of them if you want. And then again, once you have this set up how you want it, you still have that printer icon up in the top, so you can print this out and share it with whoever you are working with at the time. So this one is the market review. And now I'm going to move to the next one here. This one is what we call that meal. And this one is the fully functioning member dashboard. One of the things that distinguishes this is that this one we can use to drill into the actual data. So I will get to showing you that. So when you first look at this dashboard, up at the top corner here on the right, there's a little toggle switch and it says show filters. So you can just click on that and that's going to open up the filter panel on this one. So there's several more options here. We've got that property type. You've got the county if you want to limit this down. And I will just click off a couple of these. You have some data that didn't have a county, so that's what that blank one represents down there. But as I click on these, now I'm only looking at Clinton County. The cities that are here are only going to be for Clinton County. So this will self-select based on what boxes you have chosen in here. But I'll go ahead and add these two back in to show you the rest of the features of the dashboard. I'm going to get this filter panel out of the way for us. And let's talk about what we're looking at now. So we have a long time series history here. It goes from 2015 to the present. And just like on the market review, as I hover my mouse over here, it's going to show me each value and what each point represented. And we're right now looking at all of those counties and cities that I had selected for just single family homes. Let me go back into the filters and add on the condos so I can show you that if you want to, you can easily change this chart to a property type report by clicking the button right below here. So all you have to do is click property type, and now you can see what that breakout is. Obviously, you guys have more single families than anything, but you may want to look at those two separately. Now, the other thing you can do is right here next to property type, maybe you want to look at this by county. It's just a click of a button away. So now you can see where most of your activity was, up here in Ingham, obviously. And then you can also use this to change by city, which is going to be a lot more interesting to look at if, for example, I remove a couple of those counties, hide that filter panel, and then I'm going to go over here and switch to city. So now it's going to refresh and show me all of the cities that are within Ingham County. Now, looking at this chart right away like this isn't a chart that you would necessarily, oh, there we go, it finished refreshing. This isn't a chart you would necessarily want to just send out and share because there's a lot going on down here. But I still like it because it's a really quick way to see, hey, with all of this activity, where was most of the peak happening? And it looks like it was in East Lansing. And then you can also see where the low ones were in the bottom. So it still gives you information and helps you to plan what you might want to see next. And then you can obviously filter down and get rid of some of those cities when you are ready to share this with your client. But for now, let me go back to no breakout. I'll just click that button Now, this chart that I showed you is a long time series, but maybe there is a situation where you don't want to share the whole 5-year history with your clients. The easy way that you can do this, and I'm just going to move my mouse until I find January of 2018 for no particular reason. I'm going to click my mouse button and hold it down and then drag my mouse across the chart here, and you can see it's now highlighted what's we're looking at. And when I release my mouse button, it zoomed that chart in. So now I just get that smaller view, and you can more easily see what was going on here as you filter across and look at the values. Now, another thing you can do on this chart on any data point, which is what makes this the member-only dashboard, is I'm going to grab this value from April, and I'm just going to double-click on it with my mouse. And what that's doing is it's going to open up a dialog box, there we go, of all of the values that went into that calculation. And there's a button up here at the top that I can full screen this so you can see it a little bit better. But this has all of your listings ID and other information about each of those listings. You can export it here down at the bottom. It will bump it to Excel for you that you can then use to do additional analysis. Or for example, I have an agent in my area who just sends out literally a list that looks like it was printed from Excel every quarter or so that says, hey, here's the listings that sold in your area. So this gives you access to use the data additionally, as well as lets you have that transparency. If something looks weird to you or you're not sure how we got to that number, you don't have to trust us that it's right because you can click on it and see what the data was. I'm just going to use the button here at the top of the chart to reset the zoom when I'm done, and you can see that quickly went back to the whole time series. Now let's take a look at this box on the side. This is what we call our KPI box. KPI stands for Key Performance Indicators, and it's just another name for metric. So use whatever you're comfortable with. And this defaults to April of 2020. So what this is telling us is that for the month, there were 228 closed sales, since that's the metric we've been looking at. That's right here in the middle. And it shows you the comparison both from the prior period, and since this is a monthly number, the prior period is the prior month. So this will be March of 2020. And it also shows you the comparison from the prior year. So 339 closed sales were from April of 2019. And you also have the percentages over here. Now you can quickly change this as well from a monthly analysis to a quarterly analysis by clicking on the button below the KPI box that says by quarter. We were highlighted and checkboxed on by month. Now I'm going to click on by quarter. And now that's changed into a quarterly report for me. Now, just like the reports go through the full calendar month, this will go through the full calendar quarter. So this is going to stay on Q1 until we are done with June, and then it will switch to Q2. You can see here that for Q1, there were 760 closed sales, and now the prior period represents the prior quarter. So this is Q4 of 2019, and the same period of the prior year will be Q1 of 2019. Now, last night, since I knew we had the class today, I gave you guys one little update on this dashboard, and that is when I change this to a by year. I'm going to click on the button down here. Now you also have two additional options. Previously, the chart decided whether you wanted a year-to-date number or a full year number, and now we've given you the option to go back and forth on your own. So this will default to the year-to-date. You can see the box right above here. So now this is showing us for 2020, we're at 988 closed sales year-to-date, and it will show you what this year-to-date was for each of the other years as you hover over here. But I can change that to the full annualized number if I want, by just clicking the button here. And all of the counting metrics are pretty much going to look like this with a big chart and then a big drop off because we're still less than halfway through the year. But this is showing what those full year values were compared to where we are right now. This is a lot more interesting if we do something like change the chart to a median sold price evaluation. So To do that, remember I said you look for the little triangles and you can click on those. I'm going to click on that, and now that brings up the whole list of metrics for me. There's a little scroll bar here on the side that can scroll down through the whole list. You can scroll it with your mouse, or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard. But I'm just going to change this to median price to show you that now you can see annualized that price has been going up. So these are the full years compared to where we are right now. So I will change back to the number of closed sales, and we'll change this back to a monthly analysis so I can move over to our other chart to show you. We've been looking at the time series chart, which you can see in the top left is highlighted and checkmarked. But now I'm going to switch this to the price distribution. So when I click on that, now this is showing me that since I'm looking at the monthly report, I can see what the distribution of closed sales across each of the price bands was. And again, on this one, same thing as before, I can double click on any of these charts and it'll open up that list for me that I can then do what else I need to, or just look through it. I'll click this off. And this works as well using all of the buttons on the bottom, as well as the time series. So if I switch this to by property type, for example, it's going to change that and show me my property type and where all those distributions were. And I can also switch it to quarter or year, depending on what I want to do. So you have that full functionality for all of these buttons down here on the chart. The other thing I didn't mention is that these numbers here on the side, you can also click on those and it will open up that list of what the listings are. So essentially I just tell people you can't break the dashboard, just click around, double click on everything to see, and a lot of them you can see here self-document to tell you what each one is supposed to be, or if you can click on it in some cases if you aren't sure, but just click on things and see what you find, because there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. So I'm going to go back to the time series once more, and then we're going to go back up to the filter panel so I can show you a few more of these filters. Now we looked at the checkbox filters. Let's talk about these slider filters at the bottom. So you have a few of them. You have price range, living area, and acres. And these all have an upper end value, but that's just because we had to pick a value to be at the top for the label. It wouldn't let us leave it open-ended or go to infinity. So we picked a value there. But if you want to do an analysis above these values, for example, all you need to do is grab the handle on the left side and drag it all the way over to the top. So I've just said, hey, I want an analysis of all the properties above $500,000. And let's just make this no breakout to make it a little easier to look at. So now you can see that at those upper bounds, we've tried to make the numbers very small, so there's not a lot up there. But if you want to do that kind of analysis, it is available to you, so you don't have to worry about missing any data in the reports. Now, when I come back here, I'm trying to drag with my mouse to bring this bar back over, and the system doesn't know which one of those bars I want, if I want the right handle or the left handle, so it's not doing anything for me. All I have to do is click on the bar, and now that handle appeared again, and now I can drag, whoops, sorry, my finger slipped off my mouse there. Now I can drag it across, and it's updating for me. It's trying to update. So I told you you couldn't break it, then I proceeded to show you how to break it. All you have to do on this is go up to your browser refresh and click on that button, and now it's going to reload it for me, and I can start over. So you can't break it even if you try. Whoops. There we go. And now I'm back to the start. So opening that filter panel again, you can do that same analysis with the slider filters, with living area or with acres, and you can also move them around and go into, a middle range of some sort if you want, or all the way to the bottom. Whatever your situation calls for, you have that flexibility. There's also this little question mark down here at the bottom that was added in the little update I gave you guys last night. I'm going to double click on this And now that brings us out to our training video site. So if you don't want to go back and watch the full training session and you just need to know how to do one or two things, you can come down here. And for example, using the filters, these are literally 2 to 3 minute videos that will show you each function of how to use the dashboards. So you can always come here to find out how to do more things. I'm going to go back. There we go. And that's available on the member dashboards that we are reviewing right now. The last thing on this dashboard is you can see I've got the filters selected down here. Let's say I'm going to do an analysis on Ingham. Up here on the top, the sentence self-documents for you what you're looking at. So you don't have to remember, oh, what property type am I choosing and where was I looking? It documents up here all of the filters that you've chosen. So especially if you are printing this out and sending it to somebody, you don't have to go back and say, oh, I'm not sure what exactly I chose when I did this analysis. It says it right here for you. And you do still have that printer button up top. So now let me switch to another one. Whoops. Sorry, I have to wait for that little Zoom panel to get out of my way. And there we go. So weekly trends. I said before that all the dashboards go through the last full month, except for one. This is the one. So this one we just built, end of March or beginning of April with this whole quarantine COVID thing, so that you could keep an eye on what was going on week to week and really see those trends. So you'll see this should be very familiar to what we just looked at. We've got those list of metrics down here in the top. You've got a few filter options that you can toggle on and off. So there's less here because this is a weekly data set, so the numbers are smaller, so we don't have as many options, but you do still have that high level because it is just supposed to give you that trending. So you can select the property type, the county, city, and still do the price range. And then you're seeing this is a week over week analysis here. And the 2 lines represent when the pandemic was declared, so you can see what happened to the market after that point. And the horizontal line, just like that market review, represents where we are today, so you can quickly see what happened over the last many weeks. It's a little bit over a year, just like 13 months. So we went just a little bit over that for the week as well. So hopefully this will help you keep track of kind of what's going on right now. And then when you want that full number of monthly closed sales, you'll go back to the other dashboard. But this will give you that quicker view into what's happening as things change. These dashboards are updated weekly. So right now, the week ending is through Saturday because the week is ending on Saturday on these. And we update them every Monday night, again, just to give that couple of days for people to get in their information. So tonight this will be updated and you will see new numbers on this tomorrow morning that will go through this past Saturday, May 2nd, I believe is what the day was. So this one, again, if you need to print it, there we go. You can also click through and see what the listings are on this one if you need them. So I've got one more dashboard to show you. Click over there. And this is our pricing insights dashboard. And this one came out of working with an agent in Boston. And in Boston, they have neighborhoods in their city. And this agent said, you know what, I have this neighborhood. It's a really small neighborhood. I think there were only like 6 sales in the neighborhood over the last 18 months. And he was having a trouble getting to a price recommendation for his client and was trying to use the other analytics dashboards to get down to that, but there wasn't anything that really quite worked for him. So this is what we came up with. And you can see until you pick your county on here, you're not going to get anything. So I'm going to pick one that's a little bit smaller. Let's grab Eaton for right now. And I'm going to change this to just look at single family. So we're now looking at single family in Eaton. You can change the city and the school district as well, but we are looking at the active, closed, and pending statuses for the last month. And all of these filters can be updated. I will close them and get them out of the way, and let's talk about what we're looking at. So every dot on here represents a single property, and you can see the status is popping up there in the hover over box, and I can click on any one of these to see what they are, and down at the bottom it gives me the address of that particular property. And if I want to get a list of all of the properties, down here at the bottom right corner it says selected listings. This is where I would double click on it to get that whole list, so you do have access to that. We'll get that out of the way. And now what this chart is showing us is that we have two black lines. The intersection of these lines is the middle of this particular market. The horizontal line represents the average closed price per square foot, and the vertical line represents the median closed price. So that's what's happening in the middle of your market. And now how you can use this is you can say, hey, Mr. Seller, I know you have a property that you want to sell and you want to list it. And I'm going to grab this little slider filter at the bottom. You want to list that property right around $350,000. And now you see I've got a blue line that appeared on here that represents that median price. And then I can say, you know, at that price, that would bring your house up to $140 a square foot. So now you can see the black line is the middle of the overall market here. The blue lines where they intersect will be exactly where that property would sit. And now you can say, hey, seller, if we price your house at this value, it's going to be higher than 88% of the other properties in this market for the terms of price. And it's going to be higher than 86% of the other properties in this market in terms of dollar per square foot. And then you can have that conversation that says, is that really where your house falls in relation to everything else? Because the buyers view the market in terms of everything else. You know, a number doesn't mean anything unless you have something to compare it to, and houses are the same way. You could also take any of the little dots here and say, okay, let's look at this one. Here's an active property that's right about there. Is your property close to 8686 Yellowstone? And if the answer is yes, then that's a good price to go out at. And if not, if they say, oh no, I'm a lot closer to 11336 Traverse Drive, well, then you might want to up that price. So this just gives you the ability to visually show your buyers or your sellers where their property fits in relation to everything else and help you to get to those right numbers. And we've kind of broken this up by 4 different quadrants. Obviously, you've got the lower end, lower price values listings here at the bottom. And then as you go up in both of these, you get to a higher price and higher luxury using dollar per square foot as that metric for luxury, you know, high-end travertine and granite countertops and a lot of upgrades and that sort of thing. So that's what we did with this dashboard. This is really meant to help you. We recommend people use these not only with their sellers, but also with your buyers. You can generate one of these for each property you're looking at and show them where those fall into relation to everything else. You've got that print button up there at the top. So that's what this one is for. And with that, I have covered all of the dashboards that we've deployed for you. So I will pause for a moment and let Amanda chime in if anybody's had any questions that you want to review about any of the dashboards or have any feedback or just anything in general that you want to chat about.